And we're live. Hello, thank you, and welcome to the Real Power of Hypnosis webinar. We'll be your presenters, Dan Talley Jones and Ryan Valito. We'd like to welcome you guys. We see some familiar faces in the room. We just really happy to be out here and having you guys here. This powerful knowledge we have prepared. My name is Ryan Valito. I'm going to just be moderating this. Dan Talley Jones will be presenting. I'd like to tell you about Hypnotist Magazine and how we're all affiliated together. Um, Dan Talion and I have been working together for several years. He was my first hypnosis instructor, and he's, I believe, the best hypnosis instructor in the world. And as part of my goal in my practice, we identify hypnotists like Dan Talion who have powerful information so that we can share it with other hypnotists. And so, without further ado, I'd like to kind of just let you guys know about Dan Talley Jones. And he'll introduce himself, but it's been my pleasure to work with Dan Talley. Dan Talley is a hypnotist. He's very modest, but very confident in what he does. And he's actually doesn't, as you see in this picture here, he's presenting to a room full of people, but his face is obscured. This is one of the coolest things, the mystery behind Dan Talley Jones, and just a person that's out there trying to spread true knowledge and help people without showing his face, kind of like Wilson on Home Improvement. Um, but, it's a really cool thing. And so, without further ado, I'd like to pass the mic over to an Italian. Um, and later on, we'll open up for questions. But I'm going to just let the Italian present this powerful information. And if there are any questions at the end, we'll certainly answer them. All right, the Italian, are you ready?
Uh, I am ready. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Dan Talley Jones. And those of you who know me may know me from my books and some of my presentations. I have managed to write a whole bunch of books about hypnosis, about the mind, about mind control. And, excuse me, one of the things that has always been of great curiosity to me is how people's minds change, as well as how I can change people's minds. And that led me, starting when I was a small child watching The Hypnotist at the county fair, becoming fascinated by hypnosis, to studying it all my life and then going to various trainings, some of them hypnosis-oriented, lots of neurolinguistic programming, and then lots of reading, and finally taking a sort of daring move and just devoting myself, starting in 1998, to becoming a professional hypnotist. So that was, I say, a daring move because you just don't know a lot of people who do only that. And it was one of the most frightening and perhaps even at the time the most foolish thing I did, because I didn't have any sort of other resources besides being a hypnotist. But it did pay off. And since that time, I have worked with maybe 10,000 people with 10,000 clinical hours. I've done a great deal of lectures. You see the picture of me here, and that's me doing a presentation with under the guidance of the hypnotist Marshall Silver, who's quite famous. He asked me to present to some of his students, and that was this year. So what I have done is I've managed to learn a lot about how the mind works, as well as how to work the mind, which is even more fun. One of the things that I have done that really made a difference is I met up with a hypnotist named Jeffrey Stevens several years ago. And we'll talk about him in a few minutes, but his perspective of hypnosis affected my perspective of hypnosis in one of the most dramatic ways possible. And it made it really clear that what hypnosis is in fact a form of mind control. And by that I mean, it's a lot of hypnotists will say, okay, a lot of hypnotists will say that hypnosis is something, a guided process, which is partly true. Some people will say hypnosis is a process of relaxation, which is not always true at all. And some people will say hypnosis is something in which you are, as a hypnosis subject, is always in control. And that is something I will vehemently argue with. Hypnosis is a point where you have as a hypnotist, you have a subject you're working with, and they are giving you their mind. And what you have to do with it, you are manipulating their thoughts, you are manipulating their beliefs, you are manipulating their responses to things at an incredibly deep level. I cannot think of another way of saying anything other than it's mind control. Now, yes, I have done that in most of the clinical work I do. In fact, all of the clinical work I do. It's done with an understanding that they have an outcome, and I'm there to control their mind so they get a particular outcome they want, either to be a non-smoker, to lose a certain amount of weight, to be free from anxiety, and even weirder things. But I've also applied some of this without them knowing it. In other words, I've tested it, always for their benefit. So I do try and make sure there's something positive in the outcome, but they don't always know that I'm doing it. So what hypnosis is a form of mind control, and my goal has been to be one of, it took me a while to figure out what my goal as a hypnotist was. And for me and for anyone that I teach, my goal is to be and to have you become the preeminent hypnotist in your area. And when I came across that word, preeminent, that had something that meant something meaningful to me. And what that meant is, in the definition in the dictionary, as an adjective, preeminent means surpassing all others, very distinguished in some way. It means the greatest, the foremost, the best, the finest, the chief, the prominent, the eminent, and so on. So my goal was, when I set up my practice where I live, is to be the one person. When anyone thinks of hypnosis, they think of me first. And what I realized, in order to do that, it had to start within my mind, first and foremost. There is a quote, well, like I say, preeminence starts within your own mind. You have to believe that you are the hypnotist, that you are the person that people will go to get a result. And I know many hypnotists who want to be a hypnotist, and they want to have clients, but they don't want to be the preeminent hypnotist in their area. Now, this is not about ego. It's about a sense of certainty in your skill and a certainty in your ability. And I'm going to really emphasize that if you want that certainty in your own skill and your own ability, that there is going to be some trainings that are available to you to get that. What Jeffrey Stevens calls becoming the hypnotist. One of the best quotes I've gotten on preeminence is from Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he wrote this in the he was interviewed in the book Pumping Iron. And if you, I'll just read this. Of course, you can read along. He said that the better you get, the less you run around showing off as a muscle guy. You know you wear regular shirts, not always trying to show off what you have. You talk less about it. It's like you have a BMW and you want to race the hell out of it because you want to just go 110 miles an hour. But if you're the guy driving a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, you slide around at 60 miles an hour on the freeway because they know that if they press on the accelerator, they're going to go to 170 miles an hour. These things are the same in every field. I think he made an incredible point. When you are totally confident in your skill, it's not something you have to boast about. It's something you carry with you everywhere you go. You're unfazed by other people's boasts and challenges, and you know that if someone comes to you with a problem that's specific enough that you can help them and feel absolutely confident about it. I try and demonstrate this in how I talk to people on the phone when they call. I let them know that, yes, I can help them. This is something I've worked with. And you can start looking forward to that particular change right now when you make the appointment. I let them know throughout the entire appointment, even before the hypnosis session starts, and I let them know that when it's done, that they have a result that they want. So one of the things I always emphasize that you have to be good at to be the preeminent hypnotist in your area is, first of all, you just have to be good at hypnosis. And being good at hypnosis means getting a lasting result quickly that exceeds the client's expectations. And I call this going for the wow. And if you've done hypnosis, there are times you have a hypnosis process taking place and you get done with the hypnosis process. You've been hypnotized and you know that something took place. It's like, well, yeah, I feel a little strange. I feel a little weird, but I guess I was hypnotized because that wasn't how I normally feel. But when I go for the wow, what I'm aiming for, and I'm pretty good at getting it consistently, when I snap my fingers, tell them to open their eyes, wide awake, feel alert, their eyes pop open, and sometimes they laugh like, oh my God, this was incredible. Or they literally say, wow. And they know at that moment that something happened. They know that you did something. They know that you promised to deliver exactly what you promised, and you got that wow out of it. So what I'm wanting you to do is I want to give you some information here in a little while on how to get that good at being hypnosis and how to get the wow out of this. Once again, I want to emphasize, you have questions, post them. We're gonna have a Q&A at the bottom. So I guess one of the things that we can focus on now is what hypnosis is not. And a lot of hypnotists, unfortunately, a lot of hypnotists go through the relaxotherapy school. It's one in where it's a progressive relaxation. And my experience with that is I can relax somebody almost until they're completely unconscious and unhypnotizable. In other words, they are asleep. You can relax somebody into hypnosis. Unfortunately, I used to do that, and unfortunately, I found out the kind of results you would get with it. You get people very comfortable. You get people who maybe think something happened, but you wouldn't necessarily get the results that you wanted. Progressive relaxation as a hypnosis process tends to be something that hypnotists use because they're afraid of being dramatic, they're afraid of doing, and they're afraid of it not working. Well, if you are a preeminent hypnotist, you do not have those fears. They are just not in your worldview. You get results, and you get it all the time, no matter how you do it. So another emphasis that what hypnosis is not is I've had some clients brag about their clients making progress in 20 sessions. That's not hypnosis. That's almost like regular therapy. Hypnosis is designed to get fast results immediately. 20 sessions is not progress. That is wasting time as far as I'm concerned. And another thing that hang on just a second. Excuse me. Another thing that hypnosis is designed to do is not make progress, but start getting results immediately. A good example of that is I always ask my hypnosis clients who want to stop smoking to come in craving a cigarette. So they have a craving. They're usually just jonesing for a cigarette. You know, some of them are scratching the arm of the chair with their fingernails. They want it so much. By the end of the session, they don't only not have a craving for a cigarette, but they cannot get a craving for a cigarette. I ask them to try to get a craving for a cigarette, and it doesn't come up. I ask them to say the words, "I am a non-smoker," and then tell me how it feels. Inevitably, they tell me it feels good and it feels true. So those people who insist on 10, 20 hypnosis sessions to get one result, I think are, well, they might be simply not very good hypnotists, or they might be wanting more money from their clients. I'm not sure. But to be the preeminent hypnotist, the important thing is to get results quickly, to get them fast. Being a great hypnotist means taking changes at such a very deep level that there is no doubt that change has taken place. So what that means is it means accessing the subconscious mind. With the particular skill that I've learned, and I again want to attribute a great deal to Jeff Stevens and his training, he has developed a system that I cannot help but promote, in which you get access to the subconscious mind. The end result is when you have that amount of control, that amount of power, it can actually be frightening to people, and even frightening to hypnotists. I've known a lot of hypnotists who will tell you that hypnosis is not mind control. Hypnosis is not something where I can make you do what it is, something that goes against your will. But I can tell you that you are
We're just experiencing some technical difficulty to get Dantalian back on the line. just a moment. We're having some difficulties with the connection. Dentalian's reconnecting.
Okay, there we go. All right. Sorry, we got disconnected. Um, where was I last? Ryan, are you there? Okay. So I'm assuming you can hear me now. Is this true? All right. Yeah. There is a belief that hypnosis is not mind control. I can tell you that it absolutely is true. There is a belief also that you cannot do something in hypnosis that you wouldn't normally do. You cannot violate your own moral code. Fortunately, I can tell you that it has been demonstrated and proven that, in fact, if you're a good hypnosis subject, and there are plenty of them out there, things can be done so that you do things against your will or against what your normal moral code, and you may not even have a memory of it. That's really how powerful hypnosis is. There are even television documentaries that have shown someone to take part in a, granted it was a mock assassination, it was staged, but they didn't know it at the time. And after this, quote, assassination, they had no memory of it whatsoever. So that is one of the true and real powers of hypnosis. So if someone says hypnosis isn't mind control, I will certainly argue with them. It does take a very skilled person, a skilled hypnotist, to control the thoughts, beliefs, emotions, the memories, and habits of someone else. And I will argue with you that that is, in fact, mind control. So what is the subconscious mind? Well, the subconscious mind contains beliefs, it contains emotions, memories, habits, and much, much more. It is the majority of all of the mental processes that are going on. It includes cellular regeneration and the immune system. And I want you to just imagine what can be done when you have that amount of control. Some of the interesting questions that came up here, and Brian will probably have some more here in a moment, is, do people remember their hypnosis session? As a general rule, certainly with me, the answer is yes. One of the things that I make a point of, and this is where I really try and get the wow from it, is I want them to have the most enjoyable, the most profound, and the most absorbing experience they could possibly create within their own mind. And sometimes it is so profound, it is so enjoyable, that that is the thing that they remember. They don't remember that point, and I tell them to focus on it. And sometimes they don't remember the instructions that I give the subconscious mind, because it's very much like giving a child a bright and shiny ball and then doing something behind their back. Sometimes they don't remember, but for the most part they do. Do people come back for another session? Well, if it works, it works, and they don't. It doesn't prevent them from going out and smoking a cigarette. In fact, that does happen often. One of the things that will happen is they feel so confident they are non-smokers, that they go out and they actually try and test themselves as a non-smoker by trying to break the whole process. Well, of course, if you go out and smoke a cigarette and you smoke it enough, your subconscious mind is going to realize, oh yeah, I can smoke a cigarette, and then you're back in that groove, that trench of being a non-smoker. And so sometimes they do come back. So it doesn't guarantee that they won't. And I warn people ahead of time, don't try to test the results by trying to break them. And then there's also the question about regression to initial sensitizing events. Let me talk about that in a little bit more detail. One of the models of hypnosis is that all of our habits, especially our emotional responses, can often be traced back to one deeply traumatizing emotional event that usually happened very early in childhood. And it is the belief among some hypnotists that the only way to resolve that is to go back in time mentally and to relive that particular trauma. And in reliving it, you get to reevaluate it. And as you reevaluate it, the hypnotist will give you other options. The hypnotist will say, you were doing the best you could at the time, but now you know better, or give new resources to that memory of the child. And generally, with regression, they do come back feeling better. The bad part about it is you have to make them go through the pain. And yes, I have done regression, and I've had people beating on the pillow and screaming at their parental figures, saying, I hate you, why did you do that? And it is, frankly, long and it's messy. And I have found that you can just as easily access the subconscious mind, give it the instructions, very powerful instructions, that you were doing what you did for a reason, things are different now. Here's a better set of instructions. And they get the very same result without going back, feeling re-traumatized. They even come back and they just realize that that experience is now not a life transforming trauma. It's just a memory. It is an event that happened to them and they learned. So it's not necessary to go back to initial sensitizing events. And that's contrary to what a lot of hypnotists will tell you. Okay. Where are we next now, Ryan?
Okay, so I just kind of wanted to redirect the things that we're talking about, and because I know your method of, and I know Jeff Stevens' method, have been through several of Jeff Stevens' courses, and so I just want to kind of touch, at least sort of redirect a little bit about some of the things we've been talking about here. Now, most of you who've tuned into the call are all acquainted with hypnosis in some form or another, whether you're practicing hypnotist or whether you're a hobby hypnotist or you've just simply read some of Dan Talien's books. I even see some of you out here whose names I recognize from trainings that I've been to and if we've met live. And so, honestly, one of the things we have to kind of talk about here is how different the method we're talking about of hypnosis is. There's indirect hypnosis, which is what this permissive style, which is kind of what we've been speaking against. And Dantali, could you kind of tell people the difference in the effectiveness and of this method?
Absolutely. There is there are basically sort of two schools of hypnosis. The one that I really grew up cutting my teeth on as soon as I wanted to be a hypnotist was the indirect and Ericksonian style. It is, well, let's talk about the direct style. The direct style is very much what you see in a stage show. The hypnotist will say, follow my instructions and get these certain results. And as a result, they get certain results. It can cause what's called resistance in people because Here the hypnotist is telling someone to follow their instructions, do what I say. And some people are averse to that. They don't like it. They're suspicious of the hypnotist. The rapport isn't there, whatever. The other school is one that is called a permissive approach. And it is, the language in a permissive hypnosis session is not direct. In other words, you don't say, close your eyes. You would say instead, you may want to close your eyes. When you focus on how you can close your eyes, you'll notice that they become very easy to just close. And so there's no direction, there's no imperative to close the eyes. And the tendency is with people, when they're spoken to in this permissive form, they may actually close their eyes. It doesn't work all the time. It is much more an art than it is a science. And when I learned it, I got very good at it, and I managed to get results. But it is in many ways like learning an entirely new way of speaking. It is like learning a new language. And you have to observe people in very intense ways to make sure they're getting the results that you're guiding them to.
You're talking about Ericksonian hypnosis, is this correct?
Yes, that's correct. The Ericksonian or the permissive style of hypnosis. While I was learning that particular style, I absolutely ignored the direct hypnosis, and that was much to my detriment. I know now that the direct form of hypnosis will get incredibly fast results. A good example is stopping smoking. I have done that in less than 8 minutes, just through direct instruction, direct hypnosis. Typically with the Ericksonian style, I would tell this very long, convoluted story as opposed to telling people what to do. Now, the convoluted story would have different metaphors about smoking and being a non-smoker and choices that are being made. But it is in the direct form that people end the hypnosis session and realize, okay, something is very different in my mind, and I know it. So what we're doing here is putting a strong emphasis on learning this direct form. It is, my personal belief, the way to become the preeminent hypnotist in your area. And for those of you who want to be a hypnotist or a professional hypnotist or even a hobby hypnotist, I encourage you, present yourself as the preeminent hypnotist in your area. Follow that quote from Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's not about bragging. It's not about trying to test everything. It's just about being that preeminent hypnotist. I was once asked by someone, how should I dress if I'm going to be the preeminent hypnotist? And my response was, I don't know how you're going to dress. Be the preeminent hypnotist and dress that way. Now, if any of you have seen me, believe me, I'm not asking you to follow my example, but if any of you have seen me, I dress all in black, and I have this very strange, bizarre hat that I always wear. And when I talk to someone, that's just how I am. That's how people remember me. For you, if you're the preeminent hypnotist, it may mean putting on a suit, and that's great. Start with yourself. Now, I want to introduce where you can actually learn this particular skill. And there is a course. This is a course that I do teach it with Jeff Stevens. However, this particular downloadable course is one that he made, and I refer people to it all of the time. At some point, I may be teaching something like it, but it is actually Jeff's baby. I give him full credit for that, and he is the one person that really sort of turned me around. So in that picture there, that's Jeff, and that's me beside him, glowing brightly, as you see. So now there is a link, and I think Ryan will have that for you. First of all, have any questions? Are there any questions that anyone has right off? Ryan, did anyone post a question?
No one yet has posted a question. I've just put in the chat, though, a direct link to this course that we're talking about here.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Okay. Now, what I encourage you to do, first of all, I would encourage you to, of course, buy any and all of my products. If you want to go to mindcontrolpublishing.com, there you'll find a list of all my products. But I also, if you really want to know the power of hypnosis, look into Jeff Stevens' course. Again, I didn't make the course, simply learned from it. I do get a small portion of an affiliate fee when people purchase it, but really it is about passing on this particular skill, this incredible skill of what Jeff calls being the hypnotist, and what I call being the preeminent hypnotist. So what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks is Ryan and I are going to be doing more of these webinars. And I want you to look forward to them right now, because some of the webinars we'll be talking about will be about, well, I have a new product out about creating luck through mind control. And I am also working at building a hypnotic memory. Again, this is something that Jeff Stevens has developed, and I totally give him credit for seeing in me the ability to teach it to other people. So we're going to be talking about hypnotic memory. Please pass this along. This will be up on YouTube, and I will share the link with you so that you can pass this along to other people and view it. My personal goal is that those of you who want to be a hypnotist, that you be the preeminent hypnotist in your area. And you define what the area is. It could be your town, your city, your state. It could be the world. I am on your side. I want that to take place. So I always end my presentations by reminding you that because you're here, you are not somewhere else. And therefore, you made a sacrifice to be here. I personally and I deeply appreciate the sacrifice you made. So I want you to come back. I want you to look back on this and realize this is the beginning of something that's truly incredible. Ryan, thank you very much. Everyone else, again, thank you. I deeply appreciate it.
And I also want to thank everybody for coming out and listening to us talk. And really, Dantalian, thank you so much for presenting. This is the first webinar. We thank you guys for really being a part of it. This is the first of many webinars, as Dantalian mentioned, that you'll all be invited to. You know, we're sort of working out this platform, trying to come up with something really good for you guys. And we'll just see you on the next one. Thank you very, very much.